Ever since Logan became a mutant many decades ago, he has seen thousands of mutants suffer a lot, to the point where he sometimes feels he can't do anything to protect them. In the year 2023, the world has changed drastically for everyone, but especially the mutants and those who try to help them in any shape or form. Robots called Sentinels have been programmed in such a way that they track down mutants all over the globe and terminate them and those who help them immediately. The government saw the mutants as a threat to humanity and Earth, which is why they went ahead with this project, but the government went too far with it, as the Sentinels are programmed to do more than just terminate the mutants. The Sentinels are also programmed to terminate those individuals who have the genetic potential to have mutant offspring. The world has become a place where everyone has suffered mentally and physically from this war, and the remaining mutants are doing everything in their power to stop the Sentinels. In Moscow, the Sentinels have arrived to attack some of the remaining X-Men survivors, which include Bishop, Kitty, Colossus, Blink, Iceman, Warpath, and Sunspot. The team tries to fend off the Sentinels, but to no avail, as the Sentinels have been programmed in a way that will allow them to adapt to any mutant powers and counter the attacks of the mutants in front of them. Despite not being able to fight Sentinels in any way, Kitty comes up with a brilliant idea that will allow her and her team to escape from the hands of the Sentinels. While they are currently being attacked, Kitty, with her phasing and intangible travel ability, is able to send Bishop's consciousness a few days into the past. This would allow Bishop to warn the entire team of the attack and the place where the Sentinels would be arriving. In this manner, the future team gets removed from the site, as they were warned in the past. Now, Kitty has called upon the rest of the X-Men survivors to a Chinese remote temple. Soon, Logan, Charles, Eric, and Storm arrive, and Kitty tells them what the team has been up to and how they have been avoiding the Sentinel. Charles, with his knowledge and great mind, tells the entire team how the Sentinels program came into being. The entire program was conceived by Dr. Bolivar many decades ago, who was one of the world's leading weapons designers and someone who was highly against the mutants and saw them as a threat to the entire globe. Bolivar would secretly experiment on the mutants and use their powers for his own research. When Mystique, a mutant with shape-shifting abilities and someone who was like a sister to Charles, found out about this, she murdered Bolivar. It was the first time Mystique had ever taken someone's life, and if she knew what her actions were about to yield, maybe she would have left Bolivar and his research at peace. Mystique's actions didn't have the outcome she was expecting. Taking out Bolivar only sped up the process of accepting Bolivar's program, and the government saw the need for it. Mystique was captured on the day, and she was experimented on to a large degree. Mystique was tortured to find the secrets of her power in her DNA. It gave the scientists the key they needed to make the Sentinel and program them in a way that could adapt them to any mutant power. Charles believes that had Mystique been stopped, maybe the Sentinels would have never existed, and the mutants would have remained in peace. Charles starts to wonder if Kitty could send his consciousness back in the past, then maybe he could miraculously find Mystique and convince her to not harm Bolivar. Before Charles can say anything further, Kitty sadly lets Charles know that sending someone's consciousness back decades from now would be too hard for her to handle. Not only that, but the one she would be sending back in the past would also have to suffer, as it could take a toll on that person's mind. Considering Charles's old age, Kitty fears that Charles might get hurt because of this. This is where Logan steps in and says that he will do the job. Considering his healing abilities, and knowing that he has been around for decades, everyone thinks that Logan is perfect for the job. While Logan is being prepared for being sent back to the past, the rest guard the temple against the potential attack of the Sentinel. Charles tells Logan that he has to find him in the past, as he is the only one who can convince Mystique. He also warns Logan that he used to be a different man in the past, and it would take a lot of convincing for him to believe what Logan would say to him. Eric also informs Logan that he was the one who set Mystique on the wrong path, and Logan could possibly encounter him along the way. Kitty tells Logan that he would be returning to his old body, and will be aware that he came from the future. She also tells Logan that his actions can alter the entire future in drastic ways, so he needs to be cautious of every single thing. Logan is told that he doesn't have to waste any time, as the Sentinels could find the temple and destroy each and every one of them. Kitty sends Logan back to the past, and it is painful for Logan at first, but he is miraculously sent back to the time when Bolivar was still alive. Logan wakes up in a time when he was dating his boss's daughter. The guards come in and find that Logan had just spent a romantic time with his boss's daughter. Logan beats up the guards and takes their vehicle, so that he can reach Charles as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Bolivar is convincing the U.S. officials to let him proceed with his Sentinel program. This is a time when most people around the globe aren't aware that something like mutants exist. The U.S. officials tell Bolivar that they have no proper evidence that mutants exist, and if they do, they have been living in peace for all this time. Bolivar gives the officials the evidence that mutants exist and pose a threat to humanity. He also makes the officials realize that the world has no technology that would allow them to fight these mutants. The officials close Bolivar's case and inform him that his program won't be pursued at all. Bolivar leaves peacefully, but he deep down knows that the government will be coming after him when they realize that many terrible mutants do exist in this world. As it is the time when the Vietnam War is still going on, military camps are still set up all across the country. In Saigon, a colonel arrives so that he can meet the recruits of the military. The colonel finds the recruits and observes that all of them are mutants. He is informed that all of them are being sent to Bolivar. The colonel makes it clear that all of the individuals would be going back to their homes instead of to Bolivar's industry. Upon being told that he has no right to give orders at the moment, the colonel reveals his true identity as Mystique. Mystique fights off all of the officials and frees the mutants that were about to be sent off to Bolivar to be experimented on. Meanwhile, Logan reaches Charles's school and finds out that it has been shut down for years due to the war. Logan meets Hank, a mutant with leonine attribute and someone he would be friends with in the future. Hank tells Logan that Charles is not present at the moment, and he asks Logan to leave. Logan realizes that Hank is lying, and he storms his way into the school. After being continuously told that he can't meet Charles, Logan punches Hank so that he can find Charles in peace. Getting punched wakes the beast inside Hank to the point where he beats down Logan. After being disturbed by all of the noise, Charles appears and meets Logan. As Charles has been in a wheelchair for almost all his life, Logan is surprised to see that Charles is walking, and is definitely not in a good state. Charles has been drinking for some time now, and his life has become a total mess. This version of Charles doesn't have his powers at the moment. Logan tells Charles that he was sent back from the future. Charles is stunned when Logan begins to tell the background and history of Charles, and how Charles got his powers. Knowing that he is completely right, and after learning that they became friends in the future, Charles decides to listen to Logan and find out why he has come and what he has to offer. After telling everything to Charles, he explains that even if what Logan is telling him is true, he still can't help Logan, considering Mystique left him a long time ago for Eric. Logan tells Charles that this is the reason they will be needing Eric too, because he can help with this mission. Charles tells Logan that Eric is in prison, and he belongs there for the things he has done. Charles suddenly remembers that he and Eric once approached Logan for his help, and he avoided them rudely, and wonders if he should do the same with Logan. Charles has no plans of helping Logan anytime soon. Logan asks Hank what actually happened to Charles, as he used to be kind to others. Hank explains that Charles broke down after his school shut down due to the war, and how his mutant students had to suffer because of it. Charles completely lost himself, but Hank says that he did everything to help Charles in any way possible. Hank created a serum that would help in healing Charles' spine problem. The serum did help Charles in walking perfectly, but Charles takes the serum too much, as he is depressed because of the time he has seen. Taking the serum in large quantities also came with the cost of him losing his powers temporarily. Thinking of her past with Mystique, Charles feels that there's still some good left inside of Mystique. Knowing she's like a sister to him, Charles believes that he can help Mystique come back home. Despite not fully believing in Logan's story, Charles agrees to help Logan, only if Logan can control Eric. Logan doesn't see it as a problem, as both Eric and Charles together sent him from the future. Charles tells Logan that Eric is placed in the Pentagon, the most heavily guarded facility in the entire world, because of his magnetism manipulation abilities. Logan is shocked to learn that Eric was imprisoned because he was the man who put down JFK for good. When he learns that it would be impossible for them to go in and out of the facility where Eric is being kept, Logan lets them know that he is aware of a mutant that could help them in this scenario. Meanwhile, Mystique is up for more shenanigans as she transforms herself into Bolivar and sneaks into his office to grab a few secret files. After entering his office, Mystique is saddened to see all of the mutants that Bolivar captured and experimented on ruthlessly. Even if Mystique isn't aware of the terrible consequences of her action, Mystique has a good heart and wants to help all of the mutants and save them from the hands of Bolivar. This is further proven when she sheds a few tears after looking at the pictures of the mutants that suffered from Bolivar's extreme experimentation. Logan, Charles, and Hank arrive to meet another mutant named Peter. As Logan is already aware of his powers, Charles and Hank learn that Peter has superhuman speed and sometimes can be annoying. Despite impressing the three of them with his superhuman speed, Charles finds Peter to be completely irritating, to the point where he starts to doubt that Peter can help them in any way. Peter cuts to the chase and asks all of them the reason they have come to see him. Charles explains to him that he would be helping them in breaking into the Pentagon. This immediately grabs the attention of Peter, as if he has some sort of a mission of his own in going into the Pentagon. Peter comes on board with this mission when he learns that all three of them are mutants, just like him. All of them take the risk of entering the Pentagon and helping Eric escape. Peter dresses up like a security guard, while the rest take care of controlling the security cameras. Peter heads down to deliver lunch to Eric, and he secretly leaves a note with the lunch, which states that Eric would be coming out of his facility. Peter helps Eric come out of his unit, and uses his superhuman speed to escape several security guards. While he and Eric are in the elevator on their way to the Pentagon's kitchen to meet the rest of the team, Peter asks Eric the reasons for him being kept at a facility like this. Upon explaining that he murdered the president, Peter doesn't seem too shocked, as he is already aware of everything. However, Peter is talking to Eric in a way that seems like he must be related to Eric in some way. When Eric and Peter arrive at the kitchen of the Pentagon, an angry Charles punches Eric for what happened between them in the past. Charles wants Eric's word that he won't be murdering anyone, to which Eric agrees. Before the security can shoot down all 4 of the mutants, Peter, with his amazing superhuman speed, puts down the security guards in his own unique manner. As time slows down for Peter, he is able to change the direction of the bullets that have been fired, and he makes a joke out of all the security guards. Charles and Hank thank Peter for his efforts and help as they leave with Logan and Eric to Paris. Eric tries to talk to Charles in a normal way and asks him the reason why he takes the serum that takes his powers away. Charles lets him know that he has sacrificed a lot and he needs the serum to sleep well at night. Charles gets upset over the fact that Eric took Mystique away from him and he knows nothing about sacrifices. Maybe Charles shouldn't have said that in a rude manner, as what happens next could ruin everyone's flight. Eric goes on a rant that while he went on somewhat of an evil path, he did everything he could to protect his mutant brothers and sisters all over the globe. He blames Charles and Hank for stepping back and seeing all of the mutants getting murdered and experimented on. This rant of Eric causes his magnetism abilities to go off, and the entire plane almost gets crumbled. After hearing all of this, Charles goes to the cockpit section to take a moment to calm down and recollect his thoughts. Mystique has also arrived in Paris, and she finds out that the Paris Peace Accords will be taking place in a few days. She also learns that Bolivar will also be arriving in Paris, and she decides to finally end Bolivar once and for all. Knowing he has been rude to Charles, Eric lets Charles know that he didn't harm the president. As a matter of fact, he was trying to save the president. Because he had found out that the president was a mutant like them, he was unable to save the president, and people blamed Eric for his demise, which is why he was imprisoned. Eric also tells Charles that he is proud of the woman Mystique has become, as she has been trying to help any mutant she can. However, Eric does believe that she has to be stopped, if what Logan had told them is true. For the first time in many years, Charles and Eric have come back on the same page. Major government officials have arrived from all over the world for the Paris Peace Accords. Bolivar has also come so that he can approve his Sentinels program. As the team tries to get into the building, Bolivar explains how the Sentinels work and why they need them to erase mutants. He explains how the Sentinels work and how they can accurately spot a mutant from a mile away. As he turns on the device that will be implanted in the Sentinels, the device gets triggered, indicating that there's a mutant present in the conference room. The mutant turns out to be Mystique, in the form of the official she slaughtered a day ago. Before anyone can react, she puts down everyone, and the team arrives to help. This is where things start to go downhill, as Logan starts to remember the horrors of his future, and starts to lose his memory of coming back to the past. Despite giving Charles his word that he won't murder anyone, Eric decides to terminate Mystique, knowing she won't rest until she has slain Bolivar. Eric goes after Mystique and uses his powers to shoot her. Hank brings out his inner beast and begins to fight Eric. The Logan of the future starts to get a bit shaky due to all of this mess. Mystique is able to escape from Eric's hands, and Logan gets himself together and comes back to his senses. Even though Bolivar got out alive, the entire event will now do the one thing he has been desiring for years. The officials all over the world believe that they should reconsider Bolivar's Sentinel program. Bolivar's project is given the approval, and he couldn't be more elated. What makes Bolivar even more excited is that his team is able to find some of Mystique's blood on the road, where Eric shot her leg. The Sentinels program is now in full effect. On the other hand, Charles's health starts to deteriorate, but before he could take his serum, Logan requests him to not take it, as they could use his powers to complete the mission once and for all. Charles decides to listen to Logan, but he is still depressed, to the point where he can't think straight. Mystique finds Eric and threatens him to leave her alone. Eric has information of his own, and has found out that Bolivar has been given approval for his Sentinels program. He tells Mystique that she should join hands with, as it is about than just ending Bolivar now. Mystique, knowing how Eric abandoned her in the past, leaves him, saying that she only has to end Bolivar, and do nothing more than that. Bolivar is now working tirelessly on bringing his project to life. He instructs his Major William that he needs more of Mystique's blood, as her DNA holds the key to the program's success. Upon asking why he is so against the mutants, Bolivar answers that he actually admires mutants because of their powers. He further adds that mutants are the key to humans of the entire world coming together for the first time, as everyone would be united against a common enemy. Instead of using the serum, Charles begins to use his wheelchair again. Charles uses his cerebro to find Mystique, but to no avail. Furthermore, the cerebro causes Charles to listen to the pain of other mutants too. Charles gives up, and tells Logan that he is the wrong person to do this job. Knowing only Charles can help himself in this case, Logan instructs Charles to look inside Logan's mind and see the future. What Charles finds next will do wonders for everyone. Charles is able to get in contact with his future self. The future Charles advises the past Charles to embrace everything that is going on, and he will be more powerful than ever. The future Charles says that only the past Charles can save everyone, and he is underestimating the power he holds, which can help mutants and humans to live in peace. On the flip side of the coin, Eric is up to more evil, as he sabotages the train that has all of the Sentinel prototypes. He infuses steel in them to take control of them. Charles uses his cerebro to get into contact with Mystique again. He tries to convince her that attacking Bolivar won't help, as it would create more people like Bolivar. Mystique pays no attention to Charles and travels to Washington, D.C., where Bolivar and other government officials will announce the launch of the Sentinel program. Eric takes back his helmet so that Charles can't manipulate his mind. The day has arrived when the government would be revealing the Sentinel program to the whole world. As the ceremony takes place, Charles, Logan, and Hank try to locate Mystique, as she could be disguised as anyone. Mystique is disguised as one of the government officials, but before she can shoot Bolivar, Charles uses his powers to stop her. Eric arrives at a stadium nearby and uses his powers to take the entire stadium out of the ground. Eric, who now has control over the Sentinels, makes them fire bullets at everyone. Eric barricades the entire White House with the stadium. In the future, the Sentinels have arrived, and the X-Men try to fight them off and hope that Logan finishes the job soon. All of the officials, and a disguised Mystique, hide in the White House bunker to escape from Eric. They aren't aware that another mutant is with them that is about to murder Bolivar. Logan and Hank try to fight the Sentinels and Eric, but Eric uses his powers to impale Logan and throws him in a river nearby. Eric uses his powers to bring out the bunker as he plans on slaughtering everyone inside it once and for all. In the future, more X-Men continue to fall to the Sentinels, as they fear whether Logan will be successful. Eric uses his powers to control media communications and tells the whole world that mutants are a gift, and by ending the government officials, he will be making a statement that no mutant would ever have to cower in the shadows. He makes it clear that the mutants will be dominating the whole world. In the future, Eric falls prey to the Sentinel, and before he has taken his final breath, he makes amends with Charles for whatever happened between them in the past. A government official comes out and reveals himself to be Mystique, who shoots down Eric for the time being. Before she can attack Bolivar, Charles tries to convince Mystique one last time. He tells Mystique that she could drop the gun and make the mutants not feel like enemies to the entire world. He tells Mystique that he believes in her, and always has, and only she can make a difference today. Mystique is moved and drops the gun, which immediately wipes out the Sentinels in the future. Knowing Eric can't be contained by anyone, Charles lets him leave, and Eric bids Charles goodbye for now. Mystique looks at Charles one last time and leaves, after passing him a warm smile. Hank is skeptical about why Charles let Eric and Mystique leave, to which Charles replies that all of them will reunite one day for the better. Mutants are credited for saving the president from Eric, and this removes any need for a program like the Sentinels. Logan wakes up in the future to find the school in an excellent state. The mutant children are learning from the rest of the X-Men, and things couldn't have been better. Much to his surprise, Logan also finds Jean and Scott alive, who lost their lives many years ago in the old reality. Logan meets Charles, and Charles realizes that they have a lot to talk about. Things are back to normal in the future, but in the past, Mystique takes the form of Major William and passes a mischievous smile after dragging an unconscious Logan from the river, indicating that she still has a lot left to do.